I'm so happy today to have Ruban Lawrence here. Thanks for coming, Ruben.
Yeah, you bet.
I met you a couple times and talked with you a little bit about your life and what's going on. And I met you at originally at the Libertarian Multnomah County meeting.
Yes.
But I want to know your whole story, so that's why you're here.
A little bit of a story for sure.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming. I wanted to just start. First of all, I wanted to start with like your Canadian farming background, but like give me a little bio about yourself. Tell the people a little bit about yourself real quick.
Yeah. So my parents are Sri Lankan immigrants, and so they left Sri Lanka in the mid 70s, I'd say.
Okay.
And in the late 70s, they settled in Alberta, Canada. And Alberta is sort of like the Texas of Canada. So this was in the late 70s, and then I was born a few years after. And then,
In Canada.
yes,
Nice.
yeah. So I think in my broader family, I might be the first one who was born like in Canada or the
Okay.
US.
First generation immigrant.
Yeah, I think so. Because like a lot of my cousins who are my age, they were still born in Sri Lanka and then came here.
Hmm.
And it's only their children that are now like having been born here. So, but then in the early 80s, we moved out to an acreage, like a rural property, probably about like, I don't know, 25 miles west of the city of Edmonton. And so, so it's like, we're this brown immigrant family. And then I came out later as gay, like many years later, in like rural Alberta, Canada. And the school that I went to was actually on an Indigenous reservation,
Okay.
like First Nations reservation. And I remember my first grade teacher was a Jamaican woman. And
Wow.
so it was like
That's some culture going on.
yeah, like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, yeah, this is such a weird, like when I look back on it, I'm like, how did all of this
That's a
weird constellation things come together?
Canadian melting pot.
Oh my God. Well, no, in Canada, they don't do the melting pot though.
Okay.
They do, they believe in multiculturalism.
Okay.
So where each person comes to Canada,
Yeah.
but they maintain their cultural
I
identity.
see.
It's a cultural mosaic.
I see. So there's
Um,
no. Yeah, I see what you mean with the pot.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, like having lived there, born and raised there, and then now having been in the US for about 10 and a half years, I'm definitely more of a melting pot person.
Okay.
For me, I'm like, if you're going to go to another country, yeah, you should, you can retain aspects and,
Sure.
your connection to your culture of origin. But if you're moving someplace, yeah, join in the fun,
Yeah. Participate a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because I was gonna have kind of this thread of like things people don't know about Canada, and I've never heard that already. The melting pot thing. So that's it.
Yeah.
Interesting distinction between the U.S. and Canada. So yeah, and you did the farm life thing there for like your entire childhood, pretty much.
Well, yeah. So we had like an acreage, which that's a word I don't really hear people in the States use.
Yeah, I don't really know. I know that would mean a lot of acres, I guess.
Yeah, but we had 4 acres, about 4 acres of
Okay.
land. I don't know what like the word Americans would use for it, but it's basically like you live out in the country,
Okay.
on a few acres of land. And so, I mean, growing up, we raised like chickens and rabbits, and we did beekeeping. We grew a lot of our own food. You know, we had sheep and goats and ducks and I remember, yeah, like it was my job in the morning and then after school to go and give a bunch of grain to the sheep, and
It's fun. Yeah.
clean the clean the stalls out, all that kind of stuff. And then one of my close childhood friends, growing up, he lived just down the road, and his family, they were like multi-generational Canadian farming family, and
What do what's like the product that is it just
they
all over?
they did uh dairy, wheat, and beef.
Okay.
Yeah, so they did that, and all of their children actually were raised on raw milk, which is something I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Which is strictly
I
illegal
know that
in
there's yeah.
Canada, which
Okay.
really pisses me off. But
It's a nation
yeah, I
law
mean, I
thing.
think I don't know if there's like an explicit federal law against it, but
All the
each province
provinces
is,
have.
yeah,
Okay.
everybody's, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can get all of the like free COVID shots you want from the like free healthcare system,
Right.
but heaven forbid you go to your Canadian farmer down the road and be like, "Hey, can I get some milk?"
Yeah.
If the government finds out that the farmer even gave you milk, they if they find out, they will threaten the farmer with raids, and they will do it.
Jeez.
There's
It's
a
like a
Canadian,
milk police.
pardon me.
It's like a milk police or something.
Oh yeah, there's
I mean, I
yeah.
guess that'd be an agriculture focused police or something, but that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's real. There's a dairy farmer in Canada. He's retired now, Michael Schmidt,
Okay.
and he fought the government for like 30 years
Over this specific thing.
over raw milk and raw milk prohibitions. And no, I mean, he went on hunger strikes. He was jailed. They raided his farm countless times. They tried to destroy his life basically with lawfare.
Wow.
Um, Yeah, and then he eventually gave up. Gave because I mean you can only do so much.
Right, right.
And
It sounds like he went through every form of protests and all that
oh
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then some. And I believe what I recall is he did file a court case, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada,
Jeez.
and they declined to hear it.
Hmm.
And yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Well, I think I was telling you, I don't know. Without getting into too much specifics, there was a time in my life when I was drinking raw goat milk and I enjoyed it. I'm not, I
yeah,
had no health issues or anything. And, I know that there are tons of people on that who are in that community and who like believe in the health benefits of it.
yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's an interesting thing here in the States too. And I don't know how that compares. But which one's like more
So
strict with it, I guess.
so in the U.S., it varies from state to state. One of my favorite things about the U.S. is the whole states' rights.
Sure. Yeah. Federal
There's
versus state. Yeah.
yes, there's real limitations on federal government power compared to what the states get to have, and that yeah, like I said, that's one of my favorite things. And there's so many cool things in our Constitution down here, and another one of my favorite things is the contract clause.
Hmm.
And I can't remember exactly where in the Constitution it is. It's in one of the first articles. It's not an amendment. But basically it says that um, I think it's like state law cannot interfere with the execution of contracts, of private contracts.
Hmm. Okay.
So in practice, what that means is, if you and I have a private contract, um, we can really do pretty much whatever we want in that contract, and state law cannot interfere with that.
If it's like individual to individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and the only limitations, excuse me, are I can't remember the legal term, but basically, if in the contract, there's like serious harms or death that's happening as a result of the
Sure.
contract, then we have case law history in the U.S. that will then, at that point, allow the government to intervene.
Okay.
But other than that, you can do whatever the heck you want.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's one thing, I don't know, people, it's just good to explain about you. Like in my opinion, you have a good like legal mind and have a great understanding of law in the U.S., even in Canada. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, to a
I've
degree.
already learned a lot from you. And so I appreciate that. And so you were living in Canada for a long time. And at some point decided to move here or.
Yeah. I started working in the U.S. in about, I want to say about 2012 or so.
Okay.
And because my primary work is in software consulting,
Sure.
and there was just a lot more work opportunities down in the States. And as a Canadian, through NAFTA, which is now like Kuzma.
Yeah, it's funny because I still call it NAFTA too, and because I just think of North America.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've like changed the name or something. I don't
Yeah, just because like NAFTA, I think expired or they ended it and then they had to renegotiate it, and now it's called Kuzma,
know. Okay.
or the USCMA, depending on which. So like Canadians will call it Kuzma because Canada's first, Canada, US, Mexico,
I see. Okay.
right, and the US will call it USCMA
Just put their name
yeah,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I believe the same work visas that I was able to come through and work on US contracts in NAFTA
Hmm.
are still present in uh, USCMA.
Okay.
So I started working down here on work visas and legally.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
what a visa is for, right?
this is what a visa is
Yeah.
for. And and then I got an opportunity to help launch a small software consulting company. Like it had started, but they just needed some help kind of really getting it booted up. And they were based out of Chicago, and I joined them. But I've been working remote since 2007.
Oh wow.
So
Because I was thinking this whole time like that. I was like gonna say like this is like predating remote, but
no,
the software world's
Oh yeah,
been
yeah. I
going
mean, I
on.
started in '07, when it was actually still quite uncommon. So it was kind of a different time back then. But um, yeah, so I could live anywhere in the U.S. and
Okay. Okay.
I chose Portland,
Okay.
and it's definitely been a journey. Journey being here.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm trying to figure out the timeline because, like, we talked a lot about last time I was with you about. I guess you'd already moved probably at that point, but you talked about going across the border during COVID and all that
Oh
stuff.
my God.
But you had moved before.
Oh yeah.
This was like post 2012.
I
Something.
moved to the U.S. right at the end of 2014.
Okay, gotcha. And that's Portland.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your initial kind of? Because I had a thing on here just like Portland versus Canada. I know that one's a city and one's a country, but what was the kind of were you just like, this is great, I love it?
Like, why did I choose Portland? Or
Well, I guess that, and also just your first impressions of living here.
So I chose Portland because I mean, prior to that, I'd lived in Toronto, which is just big city.
That's mega city.
Yeah, and it's just it's like you live in a big city like that, and just life becomes a grind.
Yeah.
And I
What's funny is Annie from she mentioned that about Phoenix. She said it felt
Same
like
thing.
it was really kind of like cutthroat and like very lifeless, or just you're in the grind, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, daily life tends to be your interactions tend to be more transactional, I would say. But then simultaneously, it's like, I'm still not at a point where I'm ready to like move out to the country, even though because to be honest, like I don't want to move out to the country when I'm single.
Yeah,
like
there's some challenges there.
As a gay guy, right? Like, it's like I want to go out there already partnered with someone who's kind of like on the same vibe. But that's my kind of my ultimate goal. So yeah, I decided on Portland because it's like more of a medium-sized city, and at the time, I was like, oh, and it's super liberal, awesome.
Yeah. It was a better time for the city for sure.
It was, yeah, definitely.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%. And when I look at how it's been, how it's shifted, I mean, I think we're kind of back on an upswing now, but boy, things got messy for a while.
That's why I was asking, like, your first impression, because that for me that was a great time.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was, and I look back on it, it was almost like magical. Everything just like flowed. I met people easily, and actually, funny thing is, within 2 weeks of getting here, I met a guy, and we ended up getting married.
Really?
Yes.
Like on a whim kind of thing, or
no. So we started dating, and he lived across the street from me in the first apartment.
Okay.
I lived in here in Portland. So he lived across the street from me. We started dating, and then probably about 8 months later, we got engaged, and then we got married in 2016.
Okay.
And so altogether, like we were married for 5 years, and then we were together for 7 years in total.
Wow.
And we, amicably divorced, or consciously uncoupled.
I don't know if I've heard that. That's a good term for that.
it's
Yeah.
by, yeah, there's, who's it? Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Hmm.
So when they
That was
divorced,
their thing.
well, so the term was actually coined by an author named Catherine Woodward Thomas. And, she's written a few books about like relationships and all that kind of stuff. So she wrote a book called Conscious Uncoupling.
Okay.
And so then it kind of entered our mainstream cultural zeitgeist when Gwyneth Paltrow and
Okay.
Chris
Yeah, I'll
Martin.
put a photo of the book up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but that's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my ex-husband and I were still good friends, and yeah, so no bad blood there. But that's what happened, and then when I moved to Portland, I politically, like, I would still say my core politics have remained consistent. I would still say to this day, I'm very much a classical liberal.
Mm.
Um, but in kind of the modern Portland climate, I'm
that's cast in a
I'm
different.
like
Yeah.
I'm like a far right,
Right.
conspiracy theorist
Yeah.
who is phobic of this, and like, yeah, like,
It's kind of like I don't know. I talk about a lot on the show of like just you're cast that way just because you listen to the other side of things, which is
yeah,
ridiculous to me. Like
I
that's why I started the show is like listen to other perspectives.
yeah.
But listening to other perspectives is now seen as
How dare you?
yeah, it's kind of taboo. So
Um, yeah, so I think kind of the undoing of me of so okay, so when I moved to Portland, I was like, cool, it's liberal, and to me that meant classical liberal. And Portland's a very progressive leftist city, and when I moved here, I didn't understand that there's a big difference between a classical liberalism and leftism, and I would even say progressivism.
sure, yeah.
Um, and I just thought they were all kind of the same thing. And there were a few years where I was involved with KBOO Community Radio here in
Oh,
Portland,
really? Okay.
KBOO,
Yeah.
90.7 FM. And
Like on the air or
I was on the air a little bit. I ended up becoming president of the board of
oh,
directors
okay.
for a couple of years.
Well, I was just saying as a little known fact, I did a brief radio hit on there with SW Concert. You know that guy? He does a film show. I know they do a lot of different
Oh,
things,
yeah.
but this was like 2012 or something.
Yeah. So I can't remember what his actual name is, but that's the name
He has like a film show or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Anyway,
But
but yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool. So you're on the board.
uh
I mean, I know that place has certainly has a reputation of being extremely progressive and all that stuff. And
I would even characterize it as like far left bordering on communism.
yeah, well, and there's all sorts of things. I don't know. There was a guy there that got like arrested for kind of shady stuff, and this was a while back. But yeah, like I could see how people could view it as extremist almost for sure.
Yeah, and the thing that I didn't understand at the time when I walked in there was I mean, the core idea of integrity, right? And to me, integrity is alignment between your words and your actions and behavior. And over there, and in a lot of progressive spaces, I hear a lot of words that sound good, like, oh, we're for racial justice, we're for equality between men and women, and all of these kind of things. And those, great,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
right? But then the actual behavior of the people in those spaces often doesn't have much integrity.
hmm.
And so
Didn't reflect
didn't,
kind of
well,
that stuff you were talking about.
yeah. When I look back on it all, really, it's just basic tribalism, right?
Hmm.
Um, what was important over there was not what's actually true. It was you had better comply with this set of beliefs and perspectives. And if you don't, you will be ousted from this community. And all of it's like shunned, almost
Right,
like
right.
very like hardcore religious communities will do that. Like if you commit one sin, you're out.
You're banished. Yeah.
And I had numerous experiences there of people um, coming up to me in private and being like, "Oh, well, like I so support what you're doing, and this needs to be done." Um, Because yeah, there was some real messed up stuff going on over there.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think I can legally go
Yeah, no,
into
it's
the
okay. It's
details.
okay. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's funny you brought that up because I didn't even know that about you. And like back in that era, for me, I was pretty much I don't know, I wouldn't say a far left person, but I was a progressive person,
yep.
and I was working in the media in TV here, and I kind of kick myself now because I was kind of participating in that kind of culture. Like every newsroom I've worked in here is 99%
Oh
progressive
yeah.
folks, and they all kind of participate in that tribalism that you're talking
Yep.
about. And I was part of that back then. And now I look back and I'm like, well, that wasn't really great of me to be doing that. And but when you're in that culture
That's all
and
you
you're
know.
part of the monolith, it's
Yeah.
just like everyone's like, this is great, you know? Like,
I mean, I even have moments I look back on my own behavior, like with my, at the time back in 2016 or so, my ex-husband, we were still married, and his mother-in-law, or not his mother-in-law, his mom, right? Excuse me. She and I had different political beliefs at the time, and I remember having an intense discussion with my ex-husband at the time and saying to him, like, how can you keep in touch with your mom when she like believes like ABC and
right. Yeah.
she did like DEF um and I look back on that like kind of like with
Totally.
shame, right?
No,
I'm
yeah.
like,
There's stuff like that's what I mean. Like in
oh,
my 20s, I cringe at a lot of that stuff because I can think of like, not only family moments like that, but also like in the workplace. Like I
yep,
said, there'd be like one moderate or conservative person, and everyone's just
oh
dogpiling
yeah,
on them. And now that's what I mean. I think about that. I'm like, that was fucking wrong
yeah,
as hell to be doing that.
it's
And
tribalism.
it still happens.
Oh yeah.
I would say in every workplace here, pretty much. But yeah, like that's really interesting. I didn't know that you were working with them because I know now that they're trying to get all this what do you call it, federal broadcast money back. And I've always been on the page, same with OPB here, and this is maybe a hot take, but like I'm just like, you guys can survive like all the other media outlets,
Yeah,
or you can go away,
yeah.
so but I don't know, that's my
I mean, one of
take
the
on the
things in Canada, right, is our CBC up there. I
right.
believe their budget is like $1.9 billion.
Yeah,
Okay.
when it's I'm curious to if you would explain that too, because for a while I was looking into moving back when I was a progressive person, like moving into Canada, or I was even looking at Australia,
Yep.
and I started talking to people that lived there and worked in these broadcast
Yep.
world, and they explained that like this is all government run, like
Yes,
there's
it is.
basically no advertising allowed, at least some of the ones I was talking to,
Yep.
and I was like blown away,
Uh,
but they're all funded with
well, okay.
the
So there's the
billions.
CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and that's like the Canadian equivalent of the BBC, right? And but like they have, like I said, they have a budget of like almost $2 billion, and so on top of that, there's laws in Canada that mandate that a certain percentage or proportion of content must be Canadian content.
Okay.
Which, and I remember growing up thinking like, oh, that's so cool. Like that's nice, But now I don't see it that way. How I see that is honestly, it's a way of enabling mediocrity,
Hmm.
right? Like,
You're kind of limiting your
well, yeah, it's like,
variety of
okay, if
content.
you know that you're guaranteed a spot on the air, or if your music's guaranteed a certain amount of time on the airways, just because your content is Canadian
Yeah.
and not based on the actual quality or draw of the content itself.
Yeah.
y-
It's instead of merit, it's like you're just
Yeah,
from here. And so you can, yeah.
yeah. And so that's why, like, yeah, you've had Canadian musicians come up here and there, some actors over the years. But overall in Canada, it's definitely not a performance based culture. Yeah, it's, and I think it's taken me a number of years to get to a place where I'm no longer angry at Canada for
Hmm.
what happened to me, especially during COVID. And I've just accepted that it's a different culture, the same way that like Saudi Arabia is a completely different culture.
Yeah.
I can understand and respect it from afar,
Yeah.
but I'm good with not living there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not cool with a lot of that. Yeah, well, I was thinking like, And we can get into the COVID stuff too, but do you equate Canada kind of with, because especially with the lockdowns and stuff, I see it seems like Canada and like Australia were kind of
Oh
similar.
yeah.
Like people that basically embrace like we're fine with this level of government control.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you can live somewhere else, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, both of those I see, both of those countries seem like they did crazy shit during that time.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't leave your house literally, and or there's
Oh
like
my
people
God.
patrolling neighborhoods and shit. And um,
I Yeah, I mean, how it was. So my father, he passed in early 2022, and in late 2021, it was his health was really declining rapidly, and um, so of course I wanted to go see him.
yeah.
And at the time, uh, the government put in a 14-day quarantine policy, but only for unvaccinated people. And
So if you cross the border, you're quarantined. Is that
yes, yeah. So I'll tell you in a moment,
okay?
what that
Okay.
process was
Yeah.
like. But um, and I first started going back in like late 2021. And by that point, I can tell you the date too, October 29th, 2021, we had enough evidence to firmly conclude that the differences in transmission rate between vaxxed and unvaxxed people, there was no difference.
hmm
And so, but the Canadian government kept their 14-day quarantine policy for only unvaccinated people in place for like a year after that,
Okay.
while saying that they were following the science. Um, and they weren't. Um,
Was it? I'm just curious. Was it the same in the states? I was just thinking Moderna and what's the other one? Pfizer.
yeah,
Was it this kind of the same
like the
as
vaccines they
far as
had
the
up there.
yeah?
Initially in Canada, they did the Johnson and Johnson
Okay,
vaccine, and
which is
that one,
even worse, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one was very prone to blood clots.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But it was early on in the COVID era when the vaccines were rolled out. And so that was just the supply they were able to get.
Okay.
And then, Pfizer and Moderna and all that
Okay.
began being distributed. So, to me, once it's known scientifically and generally that a vaccine does not stop spread,
Right.
there's no basis to saying only unvaccinated people have to quarantine for 14 days. That is complete nonsense.
Or even, because that was happening here too, just mask, they would force people to mask and
Yeah,
all that
like, oh,
stuff. And
like if you're
even,
unvaxxed, you have to wear a mask.
even if like you're saying that
Yeah,
it's not going to stop
it's not going
transmission.
to stop transmission.
So,
And so there was that. So how it worked, like in late 2021, when I first started going down there, back up to Canada, I followed the policies, even though I thought they were complete nonsense. So I was just like, I need to see my dad. So I, first of all, they banned air and train travel
okay.
in Canada if you didn't have proof of vaccine. So I would have to fly from Portland to Vermont, rent a car, and drive 4 hours to my parents' house in Ottawa.
It's like was that like 8 hour total? Instead of a couple hour flight, you're doing.
Well, so to normally fly to Ottawa, it's about 8 hours of flights with a layover.
Okay. Okay.
But this was like flying all the way to Vermont, which is, 8 or 9 hours total travel
Sure. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Then typically I would stay somewhere overnight and get a rental car the next morning, then drive 4 hours.
Wow. Okay. So you got to
And
pay for a hotel or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and plus a rental car, of course.
Yeah.
So then I would cross into Canada, and at the border, what they had at the time was the ArriveCan smartphone app, which
Okay.
was required for you to enter. If you're coming into Canada, you have to enter your vaccination status into it. And if you didn't have proof of vaccination, then the app would tell you that you were essentially ordered into a 14-day quarantine.
Hmm.
And then the border guard would give you a day 1 and a day 8 COVID test. And I would then have to drive straight to my parents' house. Not allowed to, I'm allowed
Can't
to stop for
deviate.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I can't stop anywhere. Go straight to my parents' house and then stay in the house for 14 days. Um, the day 1 and day 8 COVID tests, I would have to do on camera with a nurse
Oh my God.
and then put the samples in a courier bag and put it in the mailbox and then the next day the government would come and pick them up.
That is crazy.
And then
was it the swab test? Or,
yeah,
okay.
so you'd have to do it on video
In front of a camera, yeah. Whatever.
Yep. So then on top of that, as if that wasn't fun enough, then the government would randomly call you or sometimes send someone over
just to make sure.
Well, so how they would phrase it is, well, we just want to make sure that you have all of the supplies that you need for your quarantine, which is nonsense. They were just applying government pressure to force people into compliance under threat of a $5,000 fine.
Wow.
So
if they did a check-in and somebody wasn't there, they could fine them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of law that, in my opinion, if they did that, like, they would lose in court. But then, so all of this is going on. And I remember I have really good friends here in Oregon, and they're my raw milk dairy farmers. So shout out to Helios Farms. Yeah, anyways, they've, been good friends of mine for years. And I was talking to one of them at this time, and I was just, in a state of despair because, like, I wanted to see my dad, but this is just horrible. You know?
It's like creating this other hell for you.
Yeah, and also it's like, okay, your father's dying, and you just want to be able to go out to the pharmacy and just like get stuff to supplies, food,
Right.
But you can't do that because if the government finds out, that's a $5,000 fine for you. And what they would also say is, well, you could be faced with fines up to $750,000, which is a gross misrepresentation of what the Canadian law actually says.
That's some extreme hyperbole.
Yes. Yeah. In order to do that, what I would have to do is like knowingly be sick with COVID, be symptomatic, and then intentionally go out in public to
You're like grabbing somebody and like coughing on them.
Yeah. So you'd have to do something like that.
But that was a kind of a legal threat that they would throw around.
Yeah, but what they would do on the quarantine order is they would say, "Oh, you could face fines of up to $750,000," which is technically true, but they leave out the information that says essentially you have to do something really, really serious in order to hit that level. But that's how law can actually be used and fear can be used to manipulate people into compliance without questioning it. So then in late 2021, I was talking to my dairy farmer friends and I was telling them, this is what it's like in Canada. It was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something to me and she said, you've just really got to start reading the law. And I was like, okay, come on. Like, what is reading the law going to do? I mean, this is the government. They can do whatever the heck they want, And she said, just give it a whirl. Just read the law. And so I went online and I looked up the entire Quarantine Act of Canada, which was the law upon which all of these quarantine orders were placed.
Yeah.
And it was Section 58, which is the section that authorizes emergency powers to the government. And so if you looked at all of their orders where it's like, oh, you have to go into a 14-day quarantine, it'll be like as per Section 58 of the Quarantine Act and So in that section, there's 4 conditions. All 4 conditions have to be met for the government to be able to lawfully claim emergency powers.
Okay.
But once it became very clear scientifically and generally that COVID vaccines do nothing to stop or slow transmission,
which is a pretty important part of what they're supposed to offer. Yeah.
Once that happened, they failed one of the conditions and they would have immediately lost the authority to claim emergency powers. I'm still surprised that nobody in Canada actually filed a lawsuit on that basis.
Sure, yeah.
There was a constitutional court challenge in Canada against these policies, but it was based on our Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, which is roughly equivalent to the Bill of Rights functionally that we have in the States. So there was a lawsuit filed on that basis, but
that was more like freedom of expression kind of thing.
It was more like, I think it was tied to the mobility rights, which is your right to move freely between provinces And I believe there was another thing about security of the person,
Okay.
which has to do with like, oh, essentially bodily autonomy,
Sure. Yeah.
medical information, that sort of thing. And then also, I believe it's the Section 6 Charter Rights, which gives a Canadian citizen the right to enter and leave Canada whenever they want. So the funny thing is that constitutional court challenge was launched in like, I want to say in late 2021. And it took until 2022 for a federal court to issue a decision. And what they did was the judge ruled that the court case was moot,
Hmm.
that it had no more relevance because, and the court issued its ruling shortly after the government ended its 14-day quarantine policy.
Hmm.
And so it was on that basis that the judge was like, oh, well, the court
Like
case, it's moot now.
it just ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was to me such a manipulation.
Well, yeah, and there's still, I would think legally, there's still retroactive damages that happened to people during that whole time.
Yeah, but
that
how do you
could,
prove that?
Yeah.
How do you prove damages?
Yeah.
You know, in something
Well, like in
that.
your case, it's like you were just trying to visit your dad, and
Yeah, I mean,
you
what I could
lost
have
all this time and money.
Well, technically, what I could do is I could have filed a court case that says, well, here's my rental car costs. Here's what my travel should have cost, and here's what it did cost.
Yeah.
Because of your like unlawful 14-day quarantine orders.
And also, I don't know if you could put a price on like the time you lost with your loved one. Like, you could have seen each other more and all
that would be more in the realm of like emotional distress,
emotional damage
and
or something.
courts
Yeah.
generally tend to be pretty restrained on awarding damages based on emotional distress. So, but yeah, technically I could have done that, but
It's just, yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole fact that there was a whatever act that was called, that just blows my mind every time. Because I remember you mentioned that before when we met, and I'm always just curious about that. Was all the provinces. I don't know how the elections work.
that's a
up there.
federal law.
Okay,
and it was
an emergency.
It was put into effect in approximately 2005, and I think it came into play at around that time. Because remember in the early 2000s there was a whole SARS outbreak,
Right.
and so I think that our parliament drafted this law, the Quarantine Act of Canada, federal law, on that basis.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
In future pandemics or outbreaks of disease.
It's something that, and I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't think it is, but it's something that would have been far more deadly than coronavirus turned out to be. Like I think initially a lot of people thought it might be that. Like if you've ever seen, what's that movie? The Steven Soderbergh movie about Contagion. Something that's has an R naught of like an insane amount. But like after, a couple of years, we kind of saw that this was not like that. This was not like the Black Plague or something.
No. I think early on, yeah, sure. You can, I supported, pretty intense restrictions because we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. There was a couple months there that was like, what the fuck's going on? But
I think, there's so many layers to that whole period because, I used to trust the media. Like I used to watch CNN and MSNBC and used to think that they were the good guys and Fox News was the bad guys. And now I'm just like, I don't trust any of them anymore. And that actually is connected to law. So I started reading law and stuff in late 2021. And I went on to it just became a bit of an obsession for a couple of years. Like there was one time I read I think it was like a 1,300 page court deposition transcript in a federal Canadian court.
And you were like enthralled reading it. You were like,
yeah, dude, I could not put it down. Like I read it in about 2 days and I remember being up until like 2 a.m. and I just could not put it down. And law for me has been such a, like I used to be so angry about stuff, but law, like it just brought me so much peace in my life.
Sure, yeah.
Because
it's like a way for you to kind of navigate that anger and figure out like, okay, here's what's going
Well,
on.
it's like, okay, so when you get angry about something, right? It's usually because, someone has done something to you, or maybe has gaslit you, or, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And if until you know law and how to use it, you just get angry and it feels like this impotent rage that you can't do anything about, right? I had a situation with a major corporation, a big one, and they had taken a lot of money from my ex-husband and I. And I went to multiple attorneys and I was like, hey, what they did here is wrong. Like, what the heck? And every attorney I went to was just like, nope, you don't have a case. Well, you know what? I read the law. I read the contract. I put together a whole bunch of evidence and I did take it to court. And they didn't go to court because, in my opinion, because they knew my case was rock solid. Like, it was pretty clear that what they did was wrong. And so they settled. Um, and I've used the law in so many ways like that, you know?
So you think, yeah, like the ability to, first of all, just like read it and, but then also understand it and navigate it. Do you think that that kind of keeps a lot of people out and just keeps people unhappy because they're like, well, it's just legalese. I don't understand what the hell's going on
Correct.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot. Now, okay, so, and I found that the style of language in law really varies from state to state. Like, Vermont law is, because I know a bit about Vermont law, a little bit, just because I was going to move there, because when things got so crazy
Yeah.
in Portland, but Vermont law is a bit more complex to read. But Oregon law is like so straightforward. It's like, here's a numbered list, here's bullet points, bam, bam. You can just read it
Okay.
easily.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of the other ones are kind of like more old timey or like,
yeah, like Vermont law, they love to use the word notwithstanding, which
okay.
I get, it's a great word, but just to the average person, it's like it can have different meanings in different
Sure.
contexts. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those like $10 words where I'm like, just say in spite of,
Right.
why do you
Right.
have to use not,
Make it clear. Yeah.
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 Um, but now I think with AI, um, it's a real game changer for the average person. Um, one of the things I do now is like, sure, okay, like the Supreme Court comes up with a ruling, and then CNN is screaming about it, and Fox News is celebrating it, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure like neither one of them is right,
Mm-hmm.
and so what I'll do is I'm sure I can sit there and read the 100-page document myself, but that takes a lot of time. But now I'll take the PDF from the Supreme Court website of the ruling, drop it into ChatGPT, and then I will ask it questions like, "Oh, what does this ruling say about this or that?"
Mm-hmm.
And then if I want to do a deeper dive into a particular aspect of the ruling, then I can actually just, ChatGPT will be like, "Oh, it's in, page 36, like section 100 or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go and read it with my own eyes. And when the average person is reading legalese now, like we have the ability, if you uh I don't know, you run into a term like, what is it, like writ of precipice,
Right. Yeah.
okay, you can just be like, you could ask Google or you can ask ChatGPT, like, what is that? And then you understand and you
Mm-hmm.
can read the law.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you go back to the 80s and 90s,
That was kind of gate kept and
yeah, you couldn't,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
how would I, as the average person in 1992, figure out what writ of precipice
You
is?
have to have a lot of money and pay a lawyer basically to be like,
Yeah, I'd have to
tell
go to
me
a
what this
lawyer.
means. Yeah.
I'd have to like go to a law library, and then I'd have to figure out how to find the book that has the definition of that
Sure. Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
But now I can just be like, oh, writ of precipice, which is, by the way, spelled like Praecipe or something like that,
Okay. Yeah, I know writ is WRIT, which is
Yeah.
a weird word anyway, but no, you're right. And I saw a thing recently that was like some of the like paralegal and like lower level jobs will probably be taken by AI,
Yeah.
and it makes sense because it is a lot of that like just sorting through documents and figuring
Yep.
out what interpretation and that type of thing. Um, but it's really interesting. I was just telling somebody the other day, the 80s and 90s were also kind of like I don't know if you grew up with this, but it was just like a lot of my friends, you could just make shit up and like people would be like, there's no way to check you on anything.
There's no way to like fact check.
You could just be like, you have to like look at them and like, do I believe this person? Or I don't know. I mean, use your own judgment, I guess. But yeah, it is a game changer. And I think, I don't know. Yeah. With law specifically, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I think so I look at the Bill of Rights in the US, and then if you look at history and if you look at philosophy and spirituality, um I look at the Bill of Rights, and to me it's like there's elements of spirituality in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um because I think that the rights that are enshrined in it, especially when you look at it against the backdrop of all of human history that preceded it, it's a beautiful document, dude.
Mm.
I don't think there's been anything like it.
Yeah. Well,
before.
yeah. Well, it kind of was like one of my questions was like, because I don't know much about the Canadian equivalent or whatever that is. I've heard over the years that Canada doesn't really have the same free speech laws that we have, but I'm
Right.
curious like the differences between the US and their kind of constitutional stuff.
So in the States, like our Bill of Rights, it is like in the Constitution. And in Canada, okay, so I don't have a Canadian Constitution memorized, but we have the Constitution in Canada really outlines the structure of the Canadian government and the connection with the British monarchy and all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I guess that is different. I forgot about the monarchy part of it.
oh yeah, that's
There's a
something
king and queen or
oh
something.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I really loathe that personally. I'm definitely more of a 1776 person, Yeah, so there are some, basic rights enshrined in the Constitution. I can't remember exactly what they are, but I think it was in the 60s. There was actually statutory law drafted. And I mean, just for anyone who's listening, statutory law is written law drafted by your legislators.
Okay.
And then there's case law, which is basically court precedent that's set by court case rulings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's essentially a type of law that's, based upon the rulings of our court judges.
That's like in practice, it's like one of them's in practice and the other one's just like legislation.
Well, statutory, they're both in force, right? So whenever you're looking at a legal situation, you have to look at statutory law, but then you'll also have to look at relevant case law.
Mm-hmm.
And look through relevant court rulings and all that kind of stuff to determine what is truly legal or illegal. And then there's common law, which is like English common law, which goes back to, ye old times in England. And that was basically a body of case law where, over a long period of time in Britain, local judges would make rulings, right, and make decisions. And that formed the body of essentially case law, which is referred to as common law. And that's the basis of the legal systems and laws in both Canada and the United States.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. I did want to go back to I only have a few more things here, but I wanted to go back to the COVID thing just because it's kind of why I started this show. Like,
Yeah.
I completely, I don't want to say flipped, but it changed my whole outlook on politics, on
100%.
life and everything. And I feel like you would probably agree, but it was just like such a filter for everyone, at least in my life. And one of the things I wrote down, I bring it up on here a lot. It was just so weird to see, like, we were talking about these big pharma and stuff. And it was very weird for me to see basically all of Portland, like latch on to big pharma.
I know.
Because years ago, you might remember this, there was this whole vote with fluoride in our water, and Portland kind of voted
against
it, which is the opposite of what you would.
Yes.
So I always think about this of just like that kind of, I don't know, duality is the right word, but it's just like, I guess maybe it's tribalism is what it comes down to, but it's just like, you know, in the COVID's era, like people just completely ceded everything to big pharma.
It's
Whereas 5 years
ridiculous.
ago, they were just slamming them for every little thing.
I
And
have one personal story
okay,
that will perfectly illustrate what
okay,
you just said.
okay.
And this was in the middle, the middle of everything. And I had a super lefty friend. And, you know, he and I were really close. And, we're always doing like stuff in the woods. And, we'd go out to his friend's property and we'd do like, pretty labor intensive, like bushwhacking and property maintenance and stuff like that. Um, yeah. And, he had become one of my really good friends. And in parallel, I had been building my friendship with my dairy farmers.
Hmm.
And, so there's my friend here, my first lefty friend, right? And then there's my dairy farmers. And my dairy farmers are straight, white, conservative, Christian, libertarian, anti-vaxxers. Like when it comes to vaccines, I'm very pro-choice, It's like do what you want with your body. Simultaneously, you don't have the right to be reckless with the health of others. And that is completely independent of your vaccination status.
Mm-hmm.
You can be vaccinated and you can still be reckless with the health of others.
For sure, yeah.
So,
And that probably happened a lot, during that
yes.
time when, like I said, I had a lot of experiences where people, like we were talking earlier, after we knew about this transmission stuff, people who had Johnson & Johnson or any of them that we knew didn't prevent that,
Yep.
were going around without masks. And it was just such a time of double standards and
Yes, it was.
throwing away data that we knew was true. But yeah, for sure, it was
So there's this one day, my lefty friend, he and I were having a call, and he was he was this guy I knew of as like this outdoorsman who like eats healthy food and goes hunting and all this kind of stuff. And now he's become someone who wears like 5 masks and like socially distances while outside.
wow.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And so he was, very like everybody has to be vaccinated. Everybody has to mask all the time. He was very much like that. And I remember in that conversation, he also said to me that like he gets all of his news from PBS,
Mhm.
not from like conspiracy theory, sources. He trusts PBS, which is laughable now.
Yeah.
And one of the things I asked him was, well, actually, what he said was, conservatives are not your friends, Ruben.
Just flat out.
He just said that
yeah.
because he was referring to my dairy farmer friends.
Okay.
Conservatives are not your friends. Now here I am. I'm a brown gay guy, and my dairy farmers are straight, white, conservative, Christian, libertarian, anti-vaxxers. According to, the hardcore progressives and woke people, my dairy farmers hate me. However,
which clashes with your reality.
yes, my reality is my dairy farmers were kind and loving to me before COVID from the day I met them. And now we're in the middle of COVID. They're still kind and loving to me. But my lefty friend was kind and loving towards me until now.
Yeah. You're right. That's a perfect example.
That's exactly what happened. And I even asked him in that conversation, I said, how come, on the left, you guys talk about like love is love, you're inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not carving out space for unvaccinated people who conduct themselves reasonably? And of course, there was no answer. There was only silence.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, too, it's one of the reasons I started this show because I started to see Portland as a kind of general population and community start to not even fucking like talk to people just because you disagree about something. And it's just ridiculous to me, especially like all the stuff we talked about. Once so much of this stuff was just junk and people clung to that for like 4 years here in Portland. And it just ended
still
up.
Are.
Yeah.
There's people that still are.
I know. I wrote that down here. Like you still see people by themselves in a car with a mask. And I just kind of worry for those people's mental health. But it's like, I was just so more focused on like the destruction of community and like, friendship and loved ones. And we didn't need to go through that. It was just ridiculous that, that was from a compliance angle that was like really leaned into. And I think a lot of people like reveled in it and enjoyed, hating on people
Oh,
during that time.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean, you could still see that in discourse, right? Um, People love to hate on the other side. And, I see this on the right as well,
for sure.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um, but one of the things I look back on it, and this is a recent place I've gotten to over the past, 6 or 7 months, because for a long time I was so angry about everything that happened.
mm-hmm.
Like I was basically kicked out of the gay community here in Portland.
Mm.
Um, the um, the kind of what I call the like queen bees within the Portland gay male community. Yeah, they turned on me and were pretty vicious about it. I got kicked out of multiple social groups. I had individual people who I thought were friends stop talking to me. Um, it was deeply painful. However, all this time later, I am actually now. I never thought I would say this. I'm now grateful that all that happened because I didn't even realize that for my whole life. I had been someone who would just go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And this very much comes from, especially growing up in Canada, where that is, I would say, like politeness over truth and honesty is a
Mm-hmm.
core value of Canadian society. In American culture, people will tend to be more upfront at the expense of being polite, which I prefer
It's
personally.
just a swap of honesty
Yep.
and politeness. Okay.
Um, so there was a long period of deep loneliness and isolation because all of the friends and social circles and groups that I used to be part of had ousted me.
Yeah.
And psychologically, one of the most painful things you can do to a person is you put them in solitary confinement because we're social creatures.
Yeah.
That's why it's considered torture to do that.
I was literally just talking about this a couple days ago because I had a guy in here who went to prison for 20 years, and
Yep.
we were talking about the legal threshold for like solitary,
Yes.
because social connection is like a human need.
Yes.
So, but I don't know. I was just going to bring that up because it was something that was lost en masse during COVID, was social connection,
100%.
especially for kids in school. And I talk about
Oh,
that all the
yeah.
time. And we'd have generations of kids messed up from that.
I think so.
And like all the stuff we're talking about too, with like friends and family. And um, I feel bad for you that went through that, because I went through a similar thing here. For years, I did video work for the theater, like live theater community. And
Oh, you would have gotten canceled, I
for sure,
imagine.
no. And what happened was, I was like involved with a video project. It was basically like a short film. And I think it was towards the end of 2020, maybe early 2021. But my friend was like, we're going to get going on this production. We're going to get shooting. If we can have all vax crew, like that'd be great. And these are the same people, like I was saying a while back, that were like for years, my whole life, just dunking on big pharma.
Yes.
And that's why, but that like created a fork there. And I was just like, I'm not going along with this. Like, and now you see the theater community is all in on everything, political and
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And it just breaks my heart because it's the opposite of inclusion. And I don't know.
And that ties to integrity, which is what we talked about
Yeah.
earlier.
And I like your definition for
Oh,
integrity.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books about that is a book called The Way of Integrity
Okay.
by Martha Beck. And it's one of those books, when I read it, it changed my life. And I highly recommend it to anyone. But the core premise of it is Martha Beck, the author. So she was, married and was about to have, I think she was about to have a child who she knew was going to have Down syndrome. And, she also grew up Mormon. And so I think her Mormon, connections were saying like, you've got to keep the baby. And, but her like progressive, and she worked at Harvard. So her progressive, like academic friends were like, well, you should have an abortion because the child has, Down syndrome.
Wow.
So there was all this stuff going on. And she made a New Year's resolution where she was like, you know what? For 1 year, I'm not going to tell a single lie, like not even a white lie. And so she did. And her life burnt to the ground.
Wow.
She came out as gay. She and her husband divorced. He came out as gay. She left the Mormon church. She left the world of academia. She had her Down syndrome son. And she went through this long period of loneliness and isolation. This, like, what I call the great empty, where it just seems like now you're adrift.
Your community's gone.
Your community is gone.
Yeah.
Your previous community is gone. And you have no hope for any new community to come into your life. It is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And all you have at that point is faith. You don't even have hope because you don't even have evidence at all that a new community is even possible for you. So the only thing you can hold on to is faith, which is believing in the possibility of something with zero supporting evidence.
Sure, yeah.
But she stuck it through, and from the ashes of her life, she built a whole new life. And her new life, she can totally be herself. She can say what she wants, and she's surrounded by people and community that she doesn't have to put masks on.
Yeah, yeah.
And
which is ultimately way more rewarding, right?
Like, oh my God,
you can live without
100%
fear of any of that stuff or anxiety.
When you've lived your whole life always going along to get along, there's just unconscious deep fear you live by, where if people ever saw or knew about the real me, they're gone. And so I'd better keep pretending so that I don't end up alone.
Yeah.
But COVID forced me to be alone, because there was this split, right? There was this fork in the road that I hit where it's like, okay, my choice one is to get this shot, which I'm so strongly against for myself. I can do that, and then I will receive the social acceptance and community that is in the process of kicking me out. But then what happens there is I am paying the price of violating my own integrity and my own principles and my own bodily autonomy.
It comes back to the integrity thing.
It does. Yeah. So I'm paying the price with my own integrity, with myself, and the benefit theoretically is social acceptance. Okay, well, now I've gone down this road a little bit of compromising myself for social acceptance. Once you start down that road, it never ends. There will always be another part of yourself you will have to sacrifice to maintain those social connections. It never ends.
Yeah. You're just compromising yourself.
Yes.
In a way that's dishonest. And yeah, it is wild. Yeah.
And then the other path is I remain in integrity with myself. I hold on to my principles and my beliefs and my practices. But it's a lonely path, at least at first. There's no more social acceptance anymore. You are on your own, but you are in integrity with yourself. And now when I look back on it all, although it was a deeply long and lonely path for a few years, dude, now I have such amazing community in my life.
Yeah.
So if there are any super progressive woke people watching this right now, this is what I will say to you right now. If you, like, as far as Portland and kind of libertarian, maybe conservative people, independent thinking people, we are everywhere, but we are nowhere.
Right. Well, it is too, like, I think it's a good message too, like, because I went through the same thing pretty much, and through the show a lot too. Like, I met a lot of people and built basically a brand new community of people. And I found that there are a decent amount of people in Portland who don't necessarily agree with the whole kind of rigid ideology of everything. And that's what I was going to say is that, yeah, if you're listening to this and you feel like even there's one or two little things that you kind of just go along with just to be popular or just to be part of that community, you don't have to.
It comes back and bites you in the ass eventually. 100% guaranteed.
And it's okay to disagree about stuff. That's, what it really bugs me.
I mean, I disagree with that. No,
you got to get out of here. No, but yeah, it's a great message. And I don't know. I'm glad we went through a lot, because it is, like I said, for me, it was just such a filter of like who, like I guess hinging on integrity, who like sticks to integrity and who doesn't. Because after that's what like changed it for me is I was going along with the government compliance thing for
Yep.
like 6 months. And then after a year, especially 2 years, I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, we're just lying to ourselves about it, all this
I
stuff.
know,
And,
like it's like you walk into a restaurant, you have to put your mask on,
right.
and then the host would walk you to the table, and then it's like, okay, once you're at the table, you take the mask off. Oh, come on,
Yeah, there's
okay.
just so many instances like that we have to go, really? Is this like really making sense? Like, I don't think it is. Yeah, I was going to get into some of these closing things, but before that, I wanted to give you a chance like to promote. I don't know, how involved are you with the Libertarian Party now?
So, I mean, I don't know if you can see what my shirt says here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it says, don't
This
feed
looks,
the animals, and it has, the Democrat
yeah, the
donkey, and
classic two
yeah.
party system.
And so I would say I don't really have particular political affiliation at the present time in Oregon. I'm definitely more in alignment with the Libertarians and with the Republicans. I will say that, Republicans in Oregon are totally different than Republicans in Texas, for instance.
For sure. Yeah,
yeah. So, there's all of those cultural differences between this different states. So, yeah, so I don't have a particular political affiliation, but definitely, yeah, like I hang out with, libertarians, lots of Republicans. There's a few Democrats, but not really anymore. I mean, they've all canceled me.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, I guess like if people want a space that's a little more comfortable and accepting, like, was that what you would suggest? Go to the Libertarian meeting or something like that?
yeah, for sure. I wish I could remember what the timing is.
I think it's every first Monday. I might be getting around. I can put a graphic up here that has the correct time or whatever. But yeah,
I think
it's once a. I think it's once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah.
I believe it's like the first or second Saturday of every month.
Saturday. Yeah, you're right. Saturday.
Yeah. So that's a fun group. And then there's two groups that I run.
Okay.
And one of them, and I started this with it's Portland's first, and as far as I know, only singles social mixer group for unvaccinated single people in Portland. And I started it with a friend of mine, and I met that friend through, there's a dating site called Unjected.
Okay.
Which is for unvaccinated people.
Okay. Okay.
So I went on there last summer. And of course, in all of North America, I was the only gay guy on this website. So I was like, all right, okay, well, I might as well just use it to make some friends and locally. And so I met this woman who's just amazing, and we had coffee, really hit it off, and then we decided, what the hell, let's just start a singles mixer group. And so we started that last October, and now it's this really fun, thriving social group. Like, we go to concerts together. We will, like, a few of us go to country karaoke every week. We go two-stepping, and so shout out to like Bushwhackers Saloon in Tualatin.
Okay.
They have really great country line dancing and two-stepping over there. And
that sounds fun though. Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny because we were just talking the other day with my last guest about like this culture of loneliness that we're in now. And if you want like community and people, even just to hang out with, it sounds like a great
thing, it's great. Like, there's always something going on in the group. I mean, just over the past like week, a few of us went on a camping trip, and then a few of us went to the Canby Rodeo, which was so much fun. I cannot recommend that enough. And just yesterday, one of my friends, we went to a tractor and truck pull in Banks, Oregon, which is only about, barely an hour west of Portland.
Okay.
So
I was just wondering. Yeah, I couldn't remember where it was. Yeah.
Dude, it was totally different vibe, right? So I remember like we went out there yesterday, and it's like there's like "Let's Go Brandon" stickers and like "Trump Save America," all this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, it would kind of be fun to like bring some progressive people out here.
Yeah, once you get outside the Portland kind of bubble, it's
So our singles group, we have our singles group, which primarily operates through Signal Messenger.
Okay.
So it's, just kind of a chat group, but then we have a few ways that we kind of coordinate and organize events. And then the other one, this is a relatively new one. So it's a Discord server community for gay people in Oregon. And, there's a few kind of local-ish Washingtonians who are gay and, also conservative, libertarian. So that's something that's a bit newer. But yeah, it's definitely growing. And so probably the best way to get connected to either or both of these communities for anyone who's listening, you can send me an email at info@outpostnorthwest.com.
Okay.
And yeah, and let me know what you're looking for. And, I'll see about getting you connected.
Hell yeah. Sounds great. Yeah. Both of those are really cool, I think. Yeah. Like if you feel like you don't necessarily fit the exact mold of Portland and you want to hang out with fun people, like, yeah.
It is so much fun. And
I'll just say too, like, I know people, high profile people in the gay community who kind of went through what you did and are kind of cast out for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be COVID, just different political reasons. And I don't know, I've had a guest on here that, are lesbian and they're cast out for different reasons. I know there's a lot of like different beliefs in those communities, and it's okay to believe what you want, and like.
And I gotta say, I'm having a lot of fun now.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I've come to a real place of acceptance about is, I don't really belong. I've never had a sense of belonging in what I call mainstream gay culture.
Okay.
Which is now kind of rebranded as like queer culture.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And to me, like I hear the word queer and I think radical leftist politics. Like there's such a overlap between those two things now. And, typically, if I think about your typical event in those kind of spaces, it's like, okay, there's a DJ playing some variety of EDM and all the guys are like, wearing their cute leather harnesses and, pup masks and all that kind of stuff. And they're smoking cigars and maybe doing GHB or ketamine or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Or drunk as hell, whatever. And, and then of course there's everything's drag and like you got to go to drag brunch and the Yas Queen and all that kind of stuff. And what I've realized is like I don't really enjoy any of that.
Yeah.
And I don't need to hate on it, but I also don't need to participate anymore in something that just I don't find fulfilling.
Yeah, like if you don't enjoy it, you don't have to force yourself.
Yeah. And so like that tractor and truck pull yesterday, dude, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that brought me a type of joy I could never have by going to drag brunch, which I just find insufferable and boring. So great for people who like doing that, but just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I have to do that. And I'm starting to learn that there's actually a lot of gay people out there, gay and lesbian people who are just like, yeah, they don't live in mainstream gay culture either.
Mm-hmm.
So
it makes sense. Yeah. And then you don't have to fit a very specific stereotype. It's okay to like other things, but besides this one,
and here's
like the DJ thing you mentioned.
Yeah. Like here's the thing, right? For what I just said, I'm sure, some person out there is going to be like, oh my God, Ruben has like internalized homophobia and he hates himself and he has like internalized racism and white supremacy. And okay, well, you're welcome to believe that. Go enjoy your drag brunch. Like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm actually going to the dairy farm on October 4th just to help out there and do some volunteering.
Yeah.
So I'm actually working on coordinating a group of people to take down there.
Oh, nice.
You get to milk cows and you get to learn all about how they do their raw milk farming, which to me is just so fascinating.
That does sound cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it makes sense. Like it's like you're not hating on anyone else. You're just doing what you enjoy doing.
I did used to hate on them just because I was not hate on them, but I harbored a lot of resentment because it's like as a gay guy, like I want to find a partner and like have at least a community of gay people in my life, but it felt like the mainstream gay culture. It's like you had to like. In order to find gay people, I'd have to go there, and there were no other options. But then I don't really feel like a resonance with that community. Yeah. But then when I go and hang out with my farmer friends, I'm like, oh God, I can just breathe and relax, right?
Right.
But there's no gay people. I'm always the only gay in the village,
Yeah.
But I've just, like I said, I've been learning that there's a lot more of us.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
and we are like fun fucking people to hang
Yeah.
out with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing I just want to talk about as well. I know we're wrapping up. Is one of the things I did earlier this year is it's a seemingly simple thing, and it is simple in principle. I I started moving away from people that I don't feel good around
Yeah.
and I'm not having fun with. And I started moving towards people that I do have fun with and that I do feel good around. And honestly, pretty much all of the like progressive people in my life have just kind of faded out.
Mm.
I just find them to be insufferably bitter and angry all the time. Like you could give one of them a silver platter with everything they could ever want on it. They will still find a way to be unhappy.
Yeah. It's kind of a cultured negativity.
Yeah, it's just they're not fun to be around. They police everything. You can't make a joke without offending someone's
for sure.
sensibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their core mantra right now is resist, resist. And I'm like, bitch, what are you building?
Yeah. Yeah.
If all you're doing is resisting, you're just tearing everything down around you. And then eventually, when you're the only person left, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and then you're going to punch the mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's funny because there's a house. I'm not going to say exactly where it is, but it's fairly close by, and they have a bunch of like signs with that kind of shit on it. And there's one that says like, don't comply.
Okay.
And it's confusing because like you could interpret it in the way in the COVID era, it's like, sure, like I would be like, oh, I see. Like I could agree with that. But I'm pretty sure it was meant to be like, a resist anti-Trump kind of thing, probably. But it's just funny how like you can't really look at that through one lens and have it make sense with both. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like,
well, that's why
it's just crazy. Like,
I'm like, I'm not going to like resist, right? I'm going to build the communities and networks that actually feed me.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and what you're saying, the positive negative thing,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like, you're not going to live in this culture of negativity.
Yeah.
And just, like, you want to do stuff that's fun and positive.
100%.
Yeah.
Like yesterday at the tractor pull, everybody out there was like having a good time. So, it was really cool to see all of the young children get so excited about this. And some of them are like 9, 13 years old and they're driving the tractors. And then when I think of, some of the gay progressive events I've gone to, I was just thinking this morning about this one gay guy who has anointed himself as one of the queen bees in the gay community around here. And last time I saw him, he was making jokes about how children are gross and the only thing good about getting pregnant is like having an abortion or something.
Is that called antinatalist? Is that
I'd say he's an antinatalist.
Okay.
And I
just forgot the term, but that's like anti-child. Kind
oh
of stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like who hurt you?
Yeah.
Like how? Like I'm looking at these kids getting excited. I'm like, it's warming my heart. And this bitch is like, oh, all of these children should be aborted. Well, screw you.
Yeah. It's a pretty awful thing to say
Yeah.
in general. Like,
But that's cool.
Yeah.
In Portland.
It for sure is.
It's such bullshit.
I was just talking actually yesterday about somebody how the demographics of like Portland is basically shaping up to be there's a aging older population, and then the other side is there's a lot of young people who have no kids and don't want to have kids. And it's not really a great recipe for a city, for a population as far as economy and stuff. But anyway, is there anything else you want to mention before I get in? I just have a bunch of goofy questions here. I'll ask you.
Let me see. Let me check my notes.
In case we forgot anything important.
No, I think
we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Do you like Doritos? Do you have a favorite Dorito flavor?
Oh, yeah, I gotta say ranch.
Cool Ranch. Everyone loves Cool Ranch. It's like the go-to. I love them too. Is there a animal or creature you're most afraid of?
That I'm most afraid of?
Yeah. It's like the second time I've asked this question.
An animal or creature that I'm most afraid of?
I wrote it down because I told this story a couple days ago, but I've lived here a while, and I've only ever twice seen a spider that was like this big. Oh. If you're just listening, I'm holding up. It's a huge spider. And so I don't know, some people are scared of spiders. I got it out of the house and it was fine, but
You know, I would have to say, yeah, like those giant tarantula spider things.
the bird eating spiders.
Yeah, or scorpions. Oh,
Okay.
no. And that's why I'm so glad my parents went to a northern climate.
Yeah, you don't have that desert
Because, yeah, we
climate
don't have
stuff.
malaria. We don't have like scorpions and, you
Yeah.
know, so many venomous things. I'm like, it's
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. Do you like crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Maybe you don't like peanut butter.
Only if it's like non-GMO.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, I'm just kidding. It's yeah, I guess it's true, but I like crunchy.
Okay, me too. Do you like Taco Bell?
Okay, no.
A lot of these are gross food questions.
So hold on. I do have to comment on Taco Bell.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to bring race into this, but
It's
this is
okay.
very important.
It's okay.
I mean, Portland is overwhelmingly white, right?
Yeah.
I will never understand. And it's a drunk white person thing.
Oh yeah.
They always want the Taco Bell, and I'm like, what?
Especially at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get it. It's like, it's like sometimes when it happens, I feel like I'm putting on my like cultural anthropological hat, and I'm just like, what is it?
Oh, that's fine. It's all good. It's all good. Is there a fast food that you like? Is there
Oh, Popeyes.
Okay. I love Popeyes too. I was just talking about this the other day, how I'll put a photo of it up. They do a Thanksgiving turkey that's Cajun style, and you can either pick it up from there or they'll ship it to you. And every year I'm going to get this and I'm going to make it happen. So maybe this year I'll get the turkey and actually try it out.
I will join you at that table.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I'm building a group now because I was just telling people the other day on here about it. Is there like a pet peeve that you have? Is there something you...
Other than everything we've discussed?
Like a stupid one, I guess. Like I brought up, it's a lot of people get bugged because I wear socks most of the time when I sleep, and I'll tell people that, and they're like, it kind of like gives them the ick, but I don't know. That would be someone else's pet peeve of me, I guess. But is there something like that, or like traffic, or is there something?
Well, okay, so it kind of ties into what we talked about, but I have to say, masked people.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Really irritate me.
Okay. Well, especially now, like I'll see people now that it's just like a paper or cloth, and like if it was a N95 or something, you'd be like, okay, I could see how that's like somewhat effective. But a lot of people just have like the shitty plastic ones, and it just like pollutes the earth and like doesn't do anything.
I had a friend of mine who was visiting earlier this year. Oh, okay. Quick sidebar. Sorry, I know we're going over. So he came out from Oklahoma for New Year's. And we were going to go to this show here in Portland for New Year's, but then didn't buy tickets. And, so that was gone. And so we ended up going, we went to Boise, Idaho for their annual New Year's Eve potato drop.
Oh, okay.
And
is this like a gigantic potato?
Yes, I have a giant novelty potato.
That's like
cool,
on
a crate.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so much fun. Apparently like 35,000 people come into Boise every year for this.
Oh, man. Jeez.
So we were just like, we got in the car and just drove there, and we had such a blast.
That sounds fun. Yeah. They also have you ever seen the Airbnb? They have a potato Airbnb you can stay in.
What?
Yeah. I think it's like in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, but yeah, there's photos of it. Maybe I'll put it up here. But yeah, I mean, I would stay in a potato.
Idaho is a lot, of fun.
Okay. I've actually never been to that state.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
I know a lot of people that moved there from Oregon.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
Let's see. Let's do a couple more here. If you're getting ice cream somewhere, do you go waffle cone, regular cone, cup? Do you like ice cream that much?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, waffle cone.
Okay. And what flavor are you putting in there?
It has to be not too sweet. And I mean, it's just super basic, but if it's like made with real vanilla, right? Like where you can actually see the little flecks of vanilla bean in it. Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. I was just watching a thing the other day about Amish ice cream, and I was like, it looked really good. They were just making it by hand and all that shit. I always give people a chance to shout out. Like, did you have a good meal at a restaurant or just a local business that you want to shout out? That was and it doesn't have to be here. It could have been in Banks or wherever, somewhere else. I don't know.
So local business. So I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, awesome. But then if I say something, is the business going to get canceled?
It's your choice, man. I don't know. You don't
Um,
have to. You don't have to do it too. If you want to.
well, okay. Here's what I will do. Um, because I don't know if I've actually ever ordered food from this business, like to like where I've gone there and sat in and eaten and stuff like that.
Dined in. Yeah.
But there's whenever I'm just at home and I'm hungry and I don't have time to cook, I'll get an order from Ishtar Gate, which is like Middle Eastern food, Greek food, over on Foster.
Okay.
Oh man, their fattoush salad.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
you can't go wrong with any of the stuff from them.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, Ruben, thanks a lot for coming. Is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up here?
Not that I can think of. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for
on the
sure.
show.
You're always welcome back. Yeah, you should come back sometime. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.